In a realm brimming with uncertainties, how might we delve beyond mere surfaces to uncover genuine meaning and purpose? C.S. Lewis beckons us to peer inward and outward, inviting a contemplation not just of the essence of our own metamorphosis, but also of what constitutes a society truly aligned with Christian virtues. This voyage offers no simple answers, but promises a tapestry of deep reflections on our existence and fellowship. Brace yourself to explore the fundamental queries Lewis posits, casting light on the path towards a more profound understanding of life and faith. 1. We must decide what we will do with Christ. Neutrality is not an option. There are moments in life that demand us to take a stand, to decide who we are and what we believe in. There is no middle ground, especially when it comes to the great questions, those that touch the core of our being. C.S. Lewis, a thinker of immense power and insight, challenges us in an extraordinary manner. With his words, he compels us to face a fundamental choice about Jesus Christ, a choice that rejects the possibility of neutrality. We cannot merely say that Jesus was a great moral teacher, Lewis reminds us. If he was merely a man and said the things he did, then he was a madman or something worse. But if he truly was who he claimed to be, then we are confronted with a truth we cannot ignore. In light of this, I am compelled to accept his divinity, however astonishing that may seem. This is not just a theological issue, it is an invitation to introspect, to question our beliefs, our values, our very identity. Lewis leaves us no choice. We face the trilemma of considering him a liar, a lunatic, or Lord. But what if we considered a fourth option, that of legend? Still, Lewis challenges us to examine the strength and depth of our conviction. Are stories powerful enough to shape centuries of history and millions of lives merely fictional? Or is there something more to this narrative that deserves our attention, our faith, our commitment? Lewis offers us more than arguments. He offers us a perspective that is not easy to accept, but one that, once embraced, has the power to transform our lives. In the face of Jesus' claims, we cannot remain indifferent. It is a matter that demands contemplation, that demands a decision. So faced with this challenge, what will we choose? Will we ignore the question, deem it irrelevant, or allow it to transform us, guide us, inspire us to live more fully, more truthfully? C.S. Lewis reminds us that, in the end, the choice is ours. And this choice defines who we are, what we value, and how we live. Choose wisely. 2. If we truly listen to our desires, they will lead us to something higher. There echoes a call within our hearts, a thirst for something more, something greater than mere daily existence. C.S. Lewis, in his work, The Weight of Glory, invites us to ponder the true nature of our desires. He tells us, it would seem that our Lord finds our desires not too strong, but too weak. We are half-hearted creatures, fooling about with drink, sex, and ambition when infinite joy is offered to us, like an ignorant child who wants to go on making mud pies in a slum because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offer of a holiday at the sea. We are far too easily pleased. This contemplation is but the beginning of a deeper journey Lewis embarks on in Mere Christianity. He starts with our innate search for justice and fairness, questioning whence these desires come. Atheism, Lewis argues, fails to provide satisfactory answers. Once an atheist himself, Lewis faced a quandary. He rejected the notion of a benevolent God due to the world's cruelty and injustice. Yet, it was this very observation that led him to question, how could I call the universe unjust without having an idea of justice? One cannot deem a line crooked without knowing what a straight line is. Herein, Lewis guides us to a profound revelation. Our deepest desires, our notions of justice and injustice, point to something beyond ourselves. They suggest a natural law, a standard by which we measure our existence. And if these desires and this innate morality point to something more, then perhaps, just perhaps, we are being summoned on a journey toward something greater, something divine. By truly listening to our desires, not the transient ones, but those that speak to the depths of our soul, we are led on a quest for meaning, for infinite joy, for a connection with the divine. Let us not settle for less. Let us not be content with mud pies when the sea is offered to us. C.S. Lewis challenges us to look beyond the visible horizon, to question, to seek. He reminds us that our hearts yearn for something more, something we are only beginning to understand. May we follow that longing, that thirst for true justice, love, and beauty, for therein lies our deepest purpose and ultimately our greatest joy. 3. We can lead people to Christ by asking searching questions and putting a pebble in the shoe. In a world awash with queries, often it's the simplest questions, those we pose almost thoughtlessly, that hold the power to spark the deepest of reflections. C.S. Lewis, in his lectures during a tumultuous period of history from 1941 to 1944, understood this with acute clarity. He addressed an audience entrenched in the struggle against the Axis powers, a time when the concept of evil was tangible, and the resistance against it, a collective endeavor. Lewis recognized that even those unfamiliar with the gospel shared a Christian worldview when they denounced something as evil. They leaned on an innate morality, a natural law that we all carry within us. Through this insight, Lewis found a way to connect, to appeal to this common conscience. Greg Koukl, in his book on apologetics, Tactics, describes a similar approach, the goal of leaving a pebble in the shoe of listeners. It's not about immediate persuasion, but about planting a seed of curiosity, a question that lingers and cannot be easily dismissed. I want to put a stone in his shoe, says Koukl. All I want is to give him something to think about, something that keeps nagging at him because it carries a truth that can't be simply shrugged off. Thus, mere Christianity progresses, pebble by pebble, leading the reader on a reflective journey, making them feel every stone along the path, and then showing how those stones can be removed. Lewis doesn't just make us aware of these stones, but ultimately reveals how the Christian gospel answers these unsettling truths. This strategy of posing reflective questions, of planting small seeds of curiosity, is a potent form of leadership. It teaches us that often an immediate answer or quick solution isn't necessary. The real power lies in getting people to ponder, in creating a space for truth to reveal itself in its own time. By engaging in this kind of dialogue, following Lewis's example, we can lead people on a journey of discovery, a journey that's not just about seeking answers, but about paving the way to find meaning, purpose, and ultimately a deeper connection with the divine. So the next time you find yourself in conversation, remember the power of a simple pebble in the shoe. You might not immediately see the change, but each pebble you leave, each question you raise, could be the beginning of a marvelous journey for someone. 4. The Christian life is a bit like being a rebuilt home. Imagine yourself as a living house. This is the powerful metaphor that C.S. Lewis presents us to describe the Christian journey, a journey of renewal, of transformation, that goes far beyond a simple makeover. In the beginning, the changes might seem familiar and even comfortable. Fixing leaks, arranging the plumbing, these are improvements we understand and accept. But the real transformation begins when the changes go deeper, when the reconstruction work takes us beyond what we imagined. Imagine yourself as a living house, Lewis invites us. God comes to rebuild that house. At first you might understand what he is doing, but then he starts altering the house in ways that hurt terribly and don't seem to make sense. What is God planning? He is building a house much different from what you envisioned, adding new wings here, building another floor there, erecting towers, creating courtyards. You thought you were becoming a simple, nice little house, but he is building a palace. He intends to live in it himself. This vision invites us to reflect on the process of sanctification as a journey of opening and transformation. In our walk with Christ, there are areas of our lives, like closed rooms filled with clutter, which we resist opening. These are spaces of our existence we keep locked, inaccessible to others and often to ourselves as well. Yet Christ knows us completely. He explores the depths of our heart, transforming every space, every forgotten corner, including the clutter-filled rooms. Sanctification is this ongoing process of allowing every part of our house to be renewed, reimagined, reconstructed into something much greater than we could dream. By allowing this transformation, by opening every part of our house to this divine reconstruction, we move beyond the idea of being just a decent little house. We are invited to become a palace, a dwelling worthy of God Himself. So remember, the journey of faith is not about immediate comfort or full understanding of every change. It is about trusting the Supreme Architect, allowing Him to make us His masterpiece, recognizing that each transformation, even those that challenge us, shapes us into something divinely beautiful. May we embrace the process of being rebuilt by God, knowing that, though it may hurt and confuse at times, the end result is a glorious habitation, where He Himself chooses to reside. 5. A truly Christian society would likely not satisfy the right or the left. C.S. Lewis, with his narrative mastery, presents us with a powerful analogy to describe the Christian life, inspired by George MacDonald. He invites us to envision our life as a house that God comes to rebuild. Imagine yourself as a living house. God comes to rebuild that house. At first, you understand what He's doing. He fixes the sewerage, stops the leaks in the roof. You knew these jobs needed doing, so you're not surprised. But then, He starts making changes that hurt terribly and seem to make no sense. What is He trying to achieve? He's building a house vastly different from what you imagined, adding a new wing here, an extra floor there, erecting towers, crafting courtyards. You thought you were being made into a decent cottage, but He is building a palace. He intends to come and live in it Himself. This metaphor invites reflection on the process of sanctification. In our walk with Christ, there are areas of our life, our messy rooms, that we are reluctant to open up. Yet Christ ventures into every corner of our heart, transforming every space, including the most neglected ones. Lewis, writing in a wartime context where Christian nations clashed, prompts us to ponder what a truly Christian society might look like, one that likely wouldn't fully satisfy either right or left ideals. If such a society existed, and you or I were to visit it, I think we would find it curiously odd. We would feel its economic life was very socialist, and in that sense, advanced. But its family life and its code of manners were somewhat old-fashioned, perhaps even ceremonious and aristocratic. Each of us would like some parts of it, but I fear very few of us would like the whole set. That is exactly what you would expect if Christianity were the total plan for the human machine. We all deviate from that total plan in different ways, and each of us likes to pretend that his own deviation is the original plan. Lewis challenges us to recognize that the society Christ is molding does not align perfectly with any political ideology. He observes, "Many of us are not really approaching the subject to find out what Christianity says. We are approaching it in the hope of finding support for the views of our own faction. We are looking for an ally, when what is offered to us is a master or a judge." Lewis's words invite us to deep reflection on our own approaches to faith and society, urging us to seek not what confirms our preconceptions, but what transforms our understanding and our living. Understanding the reflections of C.S. Lewis takes us on an inward journey that questions not just the structures of our being, but also how we fit into an ever-changing society. His metaphors about the rebuilding of a house and the vision of a society that transcends ideological divisions challenge us to deeply ponder our own lives and the community around us. Ultimately, Lewis does not offer us ready-made answers, but rather tools to seek truth amid the complexities of the human and the divine. He reminds us that, at the heart of our quest for meaning and purpose, we find the opportunity for transformation, a chance to rebuild not just ourselves, but also the world we inhabit, based on profound and eternal values. Thus, Lewis's words remain a timeless invitation to reflection, growth, and the pursuit of an existence that transcends the ordinary, pointing towards the extraordinary that resides within each of us. Within each of us. Within each of us.